The stars were quiet in this part of the galaxy. They had always been quiet, at least as far as the Zornath Empire was concerned. For 10,000 cycles, the Empire had watched these skies, catalogued these stars, and found nothing worthy of their attention. This empty sector served only as a border marker on Imperial star charts, notable merely for what it lacked. Until today. Grand Admiral Vextal stood motionless on the command deck of the Imperial Observation Post, Krell 9. His 4 eyes blinked, out of sync as he stared at the detection screen. The officer who had summoned him waited silently, scales shifting from green to pale yellow, a sign of extreme stress among his species. "This cannot be correct," Vextal finally said. His voice was calm, but the ridge along his spine had fully extended, betraying his alarm. "Run the diagnostics again." "We have run them 7 times, Grand Admiral," the officer replied. "The readings are accurate. 37 vessels of unknown configuration have appeared at the edge of Section 87D. They were not there in our previous scan. Now they are." Vextal's upper eyes narrowed. "Ships do not simply appear, Lieutenant. They must come from somewhere." "Yes, Grand Admiral. Yet they did not arrive through any known jump point. They did not emerge from hyperspace. They simply appeared." Both officers knew what this meant. The Empire's detection grid was flawless. A web of sensors covering every approach to Imperial space. No vessel larger than a scout ship could move without being tracked. No civilization could hide its existence from Imperial intelligence. The Empire had spent millennia perfecting its information gathering. The complete catalog of all sentient species was the pride of Imperial science. Yet here was proof of failure. Undeniable, impossible, terrifying. Vextal turned to the communications array. "Alert Imperial Command, priority absolute. Unknown fleet detected in Section 87D, request immediate response." He paused, then added, "And begin continuous observation. I want to know what they do next." Across space, unaware of the panic they had just caused, Admiral Alan Wright allowed himself a small smile as he looked out at the starfield from the bridge of the Liberty Dawn. Humanity's first interstellar expedition had arrived safely at its destination. After centuries of preparation, humans had finally ventured beyond their solar system. "Jump complete, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Betty Warren from the navigation console. "All ships accounted for. Drive systems operating within normal parameters." Wright nodded. At 58, he had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. His dark hair had grayed at the temples, and lines had formed around his eyes, from years of studying star charts and scientific reports. Now finally, theory had become reality. "Begin standard post-jump procedures," he ordered, "and activate the first contact protocols. We don't know who might be watching." What Wright didn't realize was that humanity's unconventional warp technology had done more than just bring them across vast distances. It had also, until this moment, masked their entire civilization from galactic detection. To the rest of the galaxy, humans had not existed yesterday. Today, they commanded a fleet of starships that had seemingly materialized from nothing. "Sir," called Communications Officer Sam Peters, a young man with steady hands and sharp eyes. "We're picking up some unusual signal patterns from this sector. They appear to be artificial, possibly communications between nearby systems." Wright straightened in his chair. "First evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. Record everything, Sam. Let's see if we can make sense of it." On the far side of the Empire, the Imperial Council gathered in emergency session. The massive chamber, designed to hold representatives from 1,000 worlds, now held only the 7 High Counselors and Emperor Zexloth himself. The doors were sealed. Guards stood at every entrance. This crisis would remain contained until they decided how to respond. "The data is clear," said High Counselor Murtek, her tentacles waving in agitation. "These vessels contain a species unknown to our records. Their technology is unusual. Parts of it appear primitive by our standards, yet their method of arrival suggests capabilities we do not possess." Emperor Zexloth, ancient even by the standards of his long-lived species, leaned forward on his throne. His eyes, all 6 of them, glowed with the implants that connected him directly to the Imperial information network. "How is this possible?" he asked. His voice was soft, but it carried the weight of 17,000 worlds. "How could an entire species develop without our knowledge?" "We are investigating, Divine Emperor," said Security Director Vril Nax. Unlike the others, he showed no visible signs of distress. His kind never did. "Initial analysis suggests they come from a star system we marked as uninhabitable 3,000 cycles ago. It appears our assessment was incomplete." The Emperor's glow intensified. "Incomplete? Our empire does not make such errors, Director. Find me answers, not excuses." Back on the Liberty Dawn, Science Officer Paula Stevenson worked with her team to analyze the data flowing in from their sensors. The ship's laboratory hummed with activity as specialists in various fields compared notes and theories. "These readings suggest multiple inhabited star systems ahead," Paula said, brushing a strand of red hair from her face. "All apparently connected by some form of faster-than-light communication network. We may have stumbled onto a major civilization." Chief Engineer Roy Franklin looked up from his station. "Their tech signatures are interesting. Their energy usage is enormous, but there's something inefficient about it, like they've never had to worry about conservation." "An empire, maybe?" suggested Paula. "One that's had easy access to resources for a long time?" "Possibly," Roy agreed. His dark skin contrasted with the blue light of the displays as he leaned closer to examine a data point. "But if that's true, why haven't they contacted us yet? They must have detected our arrival." On the bridge, Admiral Wright received the initial reports from his department heads. Each piece of information added to a picture that both excited and concerned him. They had hoped to find intelligent life. They had prepared for the possibility of encountering a multi-world civilization. But the scale of what they were detecting went beyond their expectations. "Orders, sir?" asked Captain Diane Russell, his second-in-command. Her steady presence had been a comfort during the long journey. Wright considered their options. First contact was always going to be the most dangerous moment for humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. Everything in their training emphasized caution, patience, and the careful establishment of peaceful intentions. "Set course for the nearest inhabited system," he finally commanded. "Standard approach speed. Continue broadcasting our first contact package on all frequencies." "And Diane?" "Yes, sir?" "Let's make sure our defense systems are at full readiness, just in case our new neighbors aren't the welcoming type." As the human fleet moved deeper into Imperial space, alarm signals spread across the Zornath command network. Warships changed course. Defense stations raised shields. Intelligence agents were activated. And in secure facilities across a dozen worlds, Imperial scientists began desperately searching their archives for any mention of a species called human in the ancient records. The Empire had ruled unchallenged for 10,000 years. But as they watched these mysterious vessels approach with growing dread, a terrible thought began to form in the collective mind of Imperial leadership. What if they were no longer alone at the top of the galactic order? What if the age of the Zornath was coming to an end? The Imperial spy Krellmore adjusted his molecular disguise as he moved through the ventilation system of the human vessel. His body, naturally fluid, squeezed through narrow passages that would have stopped any solid being. The Empire had deployed, him because he was the best. In 300 years of service, he had never failed to infiltrate a target. Yet these humans worried him. Their ship designs made no sense. Their security systems operated on principles he couldn't fully grasp. Twice already he had nearly triggered alarms that his scanners hadn't detected. Krellmore paused at a junction, extending a sensory tendril to check for life signs. 3 humans occupied the room below, a small space filled with plants and flowing water. Some kind of garden? He extended his auditory receptors. "I'm telling you, Betty, something feels off," a male voice said. "The way these star charts are organized, it's like someone mapped this entire sector without ever visiting it." "Maybe they did, Sam," a female voice replied. "If this civilization has been around as long as Paula thinks, they might have remote scanning technology we can't even imagine." The third human, another female, spoke next. Or maybe they're just not explorers. Not everyone shares our curiosity. Krellmore absorbed this information with growing concern. The humans spoke casually about matters that the Empire considered military secrets. Worse, they seemed to possess natural instincts for patterns that should have been invisible to newcomers. He needed to get closer to the command center. The Empire needed to know what these beings wanted and what they were capable of. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Palace on Zor Prime, Emperor Zexloth presided over a tense military council. The chamber's ancient walls carved from the bones of extinct beasts loomed over the gathered commanders. The intruders continue their approach to Outpost Station Grell 7, reported Fleet Commander Tazkor. They maintain formation but have made no aggressive movements. What of their communications? Asked the Emperor. Security Director Vril Nax stepped forward. They broadcast continuously, Divine Emperor. Simple mathematical sequences, then basic chemical formulas, then more complex information about their biology, their planet, their history, standard first contact protocols. First contact? The Emperor's voice dripped with scorn. An obvious deception. No species achieves interstellar travel without being detected by our scouts. They have hidden from us deliberately, built their fleet in secret, and now they reveal themselves only when they are ready to challenge us. None of the council members dared disagree, though several exchanged uneasy glances. The Emperor's paranoia had grown with his age, but in 10,000 years of rule, his instincts had rarely been wrong. We have translated portions of their language, continued Vril Nax. They call themselves humans and claim to come from a planet called Earth in a system we designated XJ2249. XJ2249. The Emperor's eyes widened. That system was surveyed during the third expansion. It was deemed uninhabitable, high radiation, primitive life forms, unstable star. Our records show the survey was cursory, Divine Emperor. The system appeared uninviting, and our forces were needed elsewhere. The Emperor hissed in rage. So we overlooked them, and now they emerge, fully formed, with technology that allows them to appear without warning at the edge of our territory. He rose from his throne, his ceremonial armor gleaming in the chamber's dim light. Prepare the 5th Battle Fleet. I will observe the encounter personally. Aboard the Liberty Dawn, Admiral Wright studied the holographic display with growing excitement. The nearest inhabited system was less than a day's journey away at their current speed. First contact was imminent. What do we know about them so far? He asked Paula Stevenson, who had joined him on the bridge. She gestured at the display, which showed a complex network of planets and stations. Their civilization is extensive, sir. At least 50 heavily populated worlds that we can detect, all connected by some form of faster-than-light travel network. Their energy usage is enormous, suggesting a highly industrialized society. And these formations here, she pointed to clusters of readings near several planets, appear to be military installations. Weaponized? Asked Captain Russell. Hard to say for certain, but the energy signatures are consistent with defense systems, very powerful ones. Admiral Wright frowned. So we're approaching a heavily armed, well-established interstellar civilization. Do we have any indication they've detected us? Roy Franklin had been monitoring the communication systems. There's been a significant spike in transmissions since we arrived in this sector. They're encoded, but the patterns suggest military. Communications, fast, direct, highly organized. They've seen us, Wright concluded, and they're talking about us, but they haven't tried to communicate with us directly. That's odd, isn't it? Asked Paula. If they've noticed strange ships entering their territory, why not challenge us? Maybe they're cautious, suggested Captain Russell. Or maybe they're watching to see what we do next. Or maybe, said Wright slowly, they're afraid of us. The thought hung in the air. The bridge crew exchanged glances. The idea that their small, exploratory fleet could frighten a vast interstellar empire seemed absurd. Yet something was causing these beings to react with alarm rather than curiosity. In the ship's security center, Officer Kevin Grant monitored the internal sensors with growing frustration. Something had triggered 3 minor alerts in the past hour, but each time he investigated, he found nothing unusual. The sensors might be malfunctioning, adjusting to the different background radiation of this region of space. Or something might be moving through the ship. Something that could almost but not quite evade their detection systems. Computer, run full spectrum scan of Deck 7, Section C, he ordered. Scanning, replied the computer's calm voice. Anomalous mass detected in ventilation junction 7, C12. Composition unknown. Kevin's heart raced. Security team to Deck 7, Section C, possible intruder. As alarm sounded, Krellmore realized his cover was blown. He had underestimated the humans' technology. Now he needed to escape and report what he had learned. He flowed upward through the ship's systems, heading for the outer hull. Behind him, security teams converged on his last known position. Ahead of him lay the cold vacuum of space, no barrier to one of his kind. But he would be exposed and vulnerable during his return to the cloaked Imperial probe waiting nearby. As Krellmore prepared to breach the hull, he sent a compressed burst. Transmission to his handlers. Humans more dangerous than anticipated. Their technology is different, not primitive. They detect what should be undetectable, and they show no fear of the unknown. Recommend extreme caution. The message reached the Emperor's flagship just as it entered the system. Zexloth read the report with growing alarm. These humans could detect his Empire's best spy? That suggested sensory capabilities beyond anything known in the galaxy. Deploy the fleet in attack formation, he commanded. We will confront these humans directly. Let us see how they respond to the full might of the Xornath Empire. As the Liberty dawns, sensors detected the approaching fleet. Admiral Wright felt a chill run down his spine. The readings showed hundreds of warships arrayed in what could only be an attack formation. All ships, defensive positions, he ordered. Shields up, but weapon systems on standby only. Continue broadcasting first contact protocols on all frequencies. Here, took a deep breath. Humanity's first encounter with alien life was not going as planned. But they had prepared for this possibility. They would not fire first. They would show restraint. They would demonstrate that humans came in peace. And if peace was not possible, then they would show these aliens something else entirely. Space itself seemed to bend as the Imperial warships approached. Their hulls gleamed with a metal unknown to Earth science, their engines leaving trails of particles that shifted through colors no human eye had seen before. 500 vessels, arranged in perfect geometric patterns, surrounded the small human fleet. On the bridge of the Liberty Dawn, Admiral Wright maintained an outward calm that he did not feel inside. Years of training had prepared him for first contact scenarios, but nothing had prepared him for this show of overwhelming force. They've completely encircled us, reported Captain Russell. No obvious escape routes. Are they responding to our broadcasts? Wright asked. Communications Officer Sam Peters shook his head. Nothing direct, sir, but there's been a change in their signal patterns. They're coordinating something. Sir, called Lieutenant Warren from the sensor station. The large vessel at the center of their formation is different from the others. More ornate, possibly a command ship or... She hesitated. Some kind of royal vessel. Wright nodded. In human history, displays of power often accompanied leadership. Perhaps these aliens weren't so different after all. Direct our main communication array at that vessel. Send our first contact message on all frequencies, all formats. As the humans attempted peaceful communication, Emperor Zexloth watched the alien fleet with mounting suspicion. The central screen on his command deck showed detailed scans of each human vessel, highlighting features his scientists couldn't explain. Their shields operate on principles we don't understand, reported the chief Imperial scientist. Our standard sensors cannot penetrate them. What of their weapons? Demanded the Emperor. We detect energy signatures that suggest offensive capabilities, Divine Emperor, but they have made no attempt to arm them. The Emperor's 6 eyes narrowed. A trick. They wait for us to lower our guard. He turned to his communications officer. Have they responded to our warning? The officer shifted uncomfortably. Divine Emperor, we have not yet sent a warning. You ordered complete communication silence. Yes, yes, the Emperor said impatiently. But they must understand that their presence here is a violation of Imperial space. Their very existence is an affront to our supremacy. Fleet Commander Taz Kor stepped forward. Divine Emperor, we are receiving a direct transmission from the alien flagship. It appears to be information about their species. Historical records, biological data, cultural artifacts. A distraction, the Emperor snarled. They seek to delay while they ready their true weapons. He rose from his command throne, his ancient frame vibrating with anger. I have guided this empire for 7,000 cycles. In that time, 17 species have attempted to challenge our dominance. All were reduced to memory. He pointed a clawed finger at the screen, showing the human vessels. These creatures have hidden from us, developed in secret, and now appear with technology that defies our understanding. Such deception cannot go unanswered. He turned to Tazakor. Commence attack. Aboard the Liberty Dawn, the weapons officer cried out in alarm. Energy buildup detected across multiple enemy vessels. They're targeting our ships. Wright made his decision instantly. Defensive measures only. All ships activate shield harmonics, evasive pattern delta. The human fleet broke formation as the first Imperial energy beams lanced toward them. Years of theoretical preparation were put to the test as human shield technology faced alien weapons for the first time. The Liberty Dawn shuddered as multiple beams struck its protective field. On the bridge, displays flickered and crew members braced against their stations. Shields holding at 92%, reported the defense officer. The harmonic adaptation is working. Their weapons are becoming less effective with each hit. Similar reports came in from the other ships. Human defensive technology, designed to learn and adapt, was already analyzing the Imperial weapons and adjusting to counter them. Wright gripped the arms of his command chair. Continue broadcasting peaceful intentions, and prepare a targeted EMP pulse, non-destructive, aimed at their weapon systems only. Sir, objected Captain Russell, that could be seen as an aggressive act. Better than the alternative, Captain, Wright replied grimly. I won't fire lethal weapons first, but I won't let our ships be destroyed either. The battle unfolded across the stars as the small human fleet demonstrated capabilities that shocked the Imperial commanders. The alien vessels moved with unexpected agility, their shields somehow adapting to Imperial attacks. Most concerning of all, they returned fire with weapons designed to disable rather than destroy, a concept foreign to Imperial military doctrine. In the Imperial flagship, Emperor Zexloth watched in growing rage as his forces failed to achieve quick victory. Impossible, he hissed. Increase attack intensity. Deploy the phase disruptors. Fleet Commander Tazkor hesitated. Divine Emperor, phase disruptors have never been used in actual combat. The collateral damage to space-time could... I did not ask for your concerns, Commander. The Emperor cut him off. I ordered you to deploy our ultimate weapons. As the Imperial fleet prepared its most devastating attack, something unexpected happened aboard the human ship Starlight Venture. Communications Officer Heather Brooks, whose specialty was pattern recognition, noticed something in the Imperial transmissions. Captain, she called to her commanding officer, I've been analyzing their internal communications, the syntax structure, the repetition patterns. They're consistent with extreme anxiety. Captain Olivia Nash looked up from the damage report she was reviewing. What do you mean? I mean they're terrified, sir, Brooks said, her eyes wide with realization. Not just concerned or alert. Their communication patterns show panic indicators. They're fighting us because they're afraid of us. Nash wasted no time. Get me Admiral Wright on a secure channel. Moments later, Wright received this startling insight. He stared at the tactical display, seeing the Imperial force with new eyes. Their attack pattern was maximum force from all directions, the strategy of someone who feels cornered, not someone confidently exercising power. They're scared of us, he murmured. But why? We've done nothing threatening. Science Officer Paula Stevenson, who had been analyzing the limited data they had on Imperial culture, offered a theory. Sir, from what we can tell, their empire has been stable for thousands of years. They've cataloged and controlled every species they've encountered. Then we appear suddenly, with technology they don't understand, from a direction they weren't watching. We're an unknown, Wright realized, and they've built an entire civilization on the principle that nothing is unknown to them. A plan formed in Wright's mind. Bold, perhaps foolish, but potentially the only way to prevent further escalation. Captain Russell, prepare a small shuttle, minimal defenses, no weapons systems, and have the fleet ready to execute protocol. Omega-7 on my command. Sir? Russell looked alarmed. You're not planning to... I'm going to speak with their leader directly, Wright said, rising from his chair. 1-to-1. No fleets, no weapons between us. Admiral, that's extremely dangerous, Paula protested. We know nothing about their intentions or customs. They've already fired on us without provocation. Wright nodded. True. But we came here to make first contact with alien life. That's exactly what I intend to do. As Wright prepared for his dangerous mission, the Imperial fleet readied weapons that could tear apart the fabric of reality itself. Two civilizations stood on the brink of a war that neither truly wanted, separated by fear and misunderstanding. The next few moments would determine whether humanity's first step into the galactic community would be its last. The small shuttle left the Liberty Dawn's docking bay, flying slowly into the space between the opposing fleets. It carried no weapons, its shields were minimal, and its engines were powered down to the lowest operational level. It drifted forward, like a fragile leaf on a dangerous current. Inside the shuttle, Admiral Wright sat alone at the controls. He had refused all offers of company. If this mission failed, he would be the only casualty. Liberty Dawn to Shuttle 1, came Captain Russell's voice over the comm. Admiral, the Imperial vessels are tracking you. Multiple weapons locked on your position. Understood, Wright replied calmly. Maintain fleet position. No defensive moves unless I give the command. He guided the shuttle directly toward the ornate Imperial flagship at the center of the enemy formation. As he approached, he broadcast a simple message on all frequencies. I am Admiral Alan Wright of Earth. I come unarmed to speak with your leader. I seek peace between our peoples. Aboard the Imperial flagship, Emperor Zexaloth watched the approaching shuttle with disbelief. What trickery is this? He demanded. Fleet Commander Taz Kor studied his displays. Scans show a single life form. Aboard Divine Emperor, the vessel carries no detectable weapons or explosive materials. Some new stealth technology, the Emperor insisted. No commander would place himself in such a vulnerable position. The alien continues to broadcast requests for peaceful dialogue, reported the communications officer. The message appears genuine. The Emperor's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his species. In 10,000 years of Imperial history, no potential enemy had ever attempted such a direct approach. The boldness of it was unsettling. Bring the shuttle into Docking Bay 3, he finally ordered. Triple security protocols. I will see this alien myself. On 17,000 worlds across the Empire, populations watched the unfolding drama. Despite the Imperial information control, news of the mysterious human fleet had spread rapidly. For subjugated species, the appearance of an unknown force that could challenge Imperial might stirred long-dormant hopes. On the desert world of Kreltak, the reptilian natives gathered in underground caverns to discuss what they had learned. The outsiders came from beyond the Empire's reach, said Elder Savek, her scales shimmering in the dim light. Just as our oldest prophecies foretold. But can they stand against the Emperor's forces? Asked a younger member of the gathering. No one has successfully challenged the Zornath in living memory. They have already done what was thought impossible, the elder replied. They appeared without warning. Their ships withstand Imperial weapons, and now it is said, their leader goes alone to face the Emperor. Similar conversations occurred across countless worlds. Species that had known only Imperial rule for generations dared to imagine something different. The humans had become a symbol before they even understood their place in the galactic community. Admiral Wright stepped from his shuttle into the Imperial docking bay. He was surrounded by armed guards, their weapons trained on him from all directions. The air smelled of unfamiliar chemicals, and the gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard. He stood straight, hands empty and visible. "I come in peace," he said, knowing his words were being translated by Imperial technology. "I represent humanity and Earth. We seek friendship, not conflict." The guards did not respond. They escorted him through vast corridors lined with symbols and artifacts from 1,000 conquered worlds. The message was clear. The Empire collected civilizations like trophies. Finally, Wright was brought to the Imperial throne room. The chamber was enormous, with a ceiling that seemed to display the galaxy itself, stars moving in slow rotation. At the far end sat Emperor Zexaloth on a throne that appeared to be made from some kind of living metal, constantly shifting and flowing. "Approach, human," the Emperor commanded, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. Wright walked forward, maintaining a steady pace despite the overwhelming display of power around him. He stopped at a respectful distance and offered a slight bow, enough to show courtesy but not submission. "Emperor Zexaloth, I presume," he said. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." The Emperor studied him with all 6 eyes. "You have attacked my empire, human. You have violated our territory. You have employed deception and unknown technologies against us. Why should I not order your immediate execution and the destruction of your fleet?" Wright kept his expression neutral. "With respect, Emperor, we have done none of those things. We came to this region of space as explorers, seeking peaceful contact with other intelligent species. We broadcast standard first contact protocols. We use defensive measures only when fired upon. We have shown restraint at every step." "Lies," hissed the Emperor. "Your kind developed in secret, hiding from Imperial survey teams. Your vessels appeared without using known travel methods. Your technology defies our understanding. These are the actions of an enemy preparing for war." For the first time, Wright began to truly understand the nature of the misunderstanding. "Emperor, we did not hide from you. We simply didn't know you existed until now. Humanity developed in isolation, on a world you apparently surveyed long, ago but dismissed as uninhabitable." "Impossible," the Emperor declared. "Our surveys are never wrong." "Yet here I stand," Wright replied simply. "We are not your enemy, Emperor. We have no desire to challenge your authority or disrupt your empire. We seek only to join the galactic community as peaceful members." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "If what you say is true, human, then explain how your vessels appeared without warning. Explain the technology that allows you to evade our sensors and resist our weapons." "I would be happy to," Wright said. "Our method of faster-than-light travel differs from yours. We call it fold space technology. It creates a temporary distortion that allows our ships to move directly from one point to another without traversing the space between. An unexpected side effect of this technology is that it creates no detectable wake or disturbance until the moment of arrival." As Wright explained basic human technologies, Imperial scientists listened with growing astonishment. The humans had developed along entirely different technological paths than the Empire. They had solved the same problems with different solutions. Their science wasn't superior or inferior. It was simply different, most disturbing to the Imperial worldview was the revelation that humans had achieved their advancements through cooperation rather than conquest. Earth had united not through force but through necessity and shared goals. Their fleet represented not a single dominant power, but a coalition of formerly independent nations. "Your claims are extraordinary," the Emperor said when Wright finished, "yet you offer no proof beyond your words." "I invite your scientists to visit our vessels," Wright replied. "I offer complete access to our non-military technology and historical records. We have nothing to hide, Emperor." The offer of transparency was so alien to Imperial thinking that it left the Emperor momentarily speechless. In a culture built on strategic advantage and information control, such openness was either profound stupidity or something the Empire had never encountered before. Genuine confidence without arrogance. Across the Imperial fleet, weapons remained trained on the human vessels. Across the human fleet, defensive systems remained active but non-threatening. Two civilizations balanced on the edge between war and peace, between destruction and a new beginning. And it all depended on what Emperor Zexloth decided to do next. Emperor Zexloth rose from his throne, his ancient body moving with surprising grace. He descended the 7 steps that separated him from the floor where Admiral Wright stood. For the first time in 7,000 cycles, the Emperor of 17,000 worlds stood on the same level as another being. "You are either the boldest or the most foolish creature I have ever encountered," he said, circling Wright slowly. "To come here alone, to place yourself at my mercy." Wright remained still, meeting the Emperor's gaze whenever it passed before him. Sometimes the best way to demonstrate peaceful intentions is to make yourself vulnerable. The Emperor stopped. A concept foreign to imperial doctrine. Vulnerability is weakness. Weakness invites conquest. This is the natural order. "Perhaps on worlds where resources are scarce or threats are constant," Wright replied. "On Earth, we learned that cooperation often yields better results than competition. Different paths can lead to similar destinations." The Emperor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You speak of philosophy while your fleet hangs in the balance? While your own life can be ended with a single word from me?" "I speak of the foundation of human civilization," Wright said calmly. "Understanding who we are may help you understand why we're here and what we seek." A long silence followed. The imperial court watched in stunned disbelief as their emperor appeared to actually consider the humans' words. This was unprecedented. The empire did not negotiate with potential rivals. It crushed them or occasionally absorbed them as subordinate species. Finally, the emperor spoke. "Your offer of transparency intrigues me, human. Not because I believe your words, but because I wish to understand the deception more fully." He gestured to his scientists. "You will permit these researchers to visit your vessel. They will examine your technology, your records, your biology. They will determine the truth of your claims." Wright nodded. "Agreed. I'll arrange safe passage immediately." As the Emperor returned to his throne, Wright activated his comm unit. "Liberty Dawn, this is Admiral Wright. Prepare to receive Imperial researchers, full diplomatic protocols. Limited access to propulsion and defense systems, but complete access to historical and cultural databases." Captain Russell's voice came through, tinged with concern. "Understood, Admiral. Are you staying there?" Wright glanced at the Emperor. "For now, consider me a guest of the Empire. Continue fleet operations under Protocol Summit." The coded message would tell Russell everything she needed to know. The human fleet would maintain defensive posture, but take no aggressive actions. And if Wright didn't return or make contact within 24 hours, she was to withdraw immediately and return to Earth with all the data they had gathered. Over the next several hours, Imperial scientists shuttled between the human vessels and their own flagship. Their initial skepticism gave way to confusion, then to reluctant fascination. The humans' technology was not more advanced than the Empire's in many areas, but it approached similar problems from entirely different directions. Most puzzling of all was human culture itself. Imperial experts in xenopsychology struggled to understand a species that placed such value on individual freedom, yet could coordinate effectively as a group. The concept of leadership through service rather than dominance seemed contradictory to Imperial thinking. On the Imperial flagship, Admiral Wright was permitted to move about under guard. He used the opportunity to observe Imperial society firsthand. The ship was a microcosm of the Empire itself, rigidly hierarchical, with each species assigned specific roles based on their abilities and evolutionary history. He noticed how the guards from subjugated worlds treated him when the Emperor's direct servants weren't watching, with furtive glances of hope or curiosity rather than hostility. Wright began to understand that the Empire's strength might also be its greatest vulnerability. Not all who served did so willingly. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news continued to spread. Despite Imperial censorship, information about the humans traveled through hidden networks, whispered conversations, and coded messages. On 1,000 worlds, beings looked to the stars and wondered if change was finally coming. After 12 hours of research, The Imperial scientists presented their findings to Emperor Zexloth. Wright was brought to the throne room to hear their conclusions. "Divine Emperor," began the lead scientist, his tentacles quivering with nervous energy. "Our analysis confirms several of the humans' claims. Their technology developed independently from Imperial science. Their method of faster-than-light travel does indeed create minimal disturbance until the moment of arrival, and their historical records appear consistent with a civilization that evolved in isolation." The Emperor's expression remained unreadable. "And their weapons? Their true capabilities? Their defensive systems are remarkable, Divine Emperor, adaptive and efficient. But their offensive capabilities, while potent, are not beyond our understanding. They appear designed primarily for precision rather than maximum destruction. And what of their world? This Earth? A water world, Divine Emperor. Oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, high radiation from their star, as our ancient surveys noted. But the humans evolved natural resistance to this radiation. They developed in a highly competitive ecosystem with millions of species. This may explain their adaptability and problem-solving abilities." Wright watched the Emperor carefully. The evidence was challenging everything the Xornath believed about their place in the universe. How would a being who had ruled for thousands of years react to such a fundamental challenge? Emperor Zexloth was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter than before. "In 7,000 cycles of rule, I have never encountered a species like yours, human. You appeared where none should exist. You resist where none should survive. You offer peace where others would seek advantage." He leaned forward on his throne. "I do not understand your kind." "Perhaps that is a beginning, not an ending," Wright suggested. "Our peoples are different. Our histories, our biology, our philosophies, all different. But difference need not mean conflict." The Emperor's 6 eyes blinked in their complex pattern. "What do you propose, human?" "An exchange," Wright said. "Knowledge, culture, ideas. Limited trade of non-military technology. Defined borders respected by both sides. And maybe, in time, more." The offer hung in the air between them. It was not submission, which the Empire understood. It was not challenge, which the Empire expected. It was something new. Cooperation between equals. Throughout the throne room, Imperial officials waited breathlessly. The Empire had never treated with another power as an equal. Victory or defeat, conquest or retreat. These were the only outcomes in Imperial history. Finally, the Emperor spoke. "I accept this exchange, not because the Empire requires it, but because in 10,000 cycles, it is the first truly new thing to come before my throne." A hint of something like humor crept into his voice. "And because I wish to see what your strange species will do next." Admiral Wright allowed himself a small smile. "A wise decision, Emperor. I believe both our peoples will benefit." As Wright returned to the Liberty Dawn hours later, the human fleet and the Imperial Armada began to disengage from their battle positions. The immediate crisis had passed. Humanity had survived its first contact with galactic civilization, not through superior firepower or technology, but through understanding, adaptability, and the courage to offer peace from a position of vulnerability. The bridge of the Liberty Dawn. Captain Russell greeted Wright with visible relief. "Welcome back, Admiral. I have to admit, I wasn't certain we'd see you again." Wright looked out at the stars, where human and Imperial ships now moved in parallel. "Rather than opposition, this is just the beginning, Diane. We've opened a door, nothing more." "What happens next?" she asked. Wright smiled. "We explore, we learn, we build connections. That's what humans do best." He straightened his uniform. "Set course for the next sector. We have a galaxy to meet."